sure you've heard of all of the things going on with Nick Cannon, but tell us how you're addressing it on your show, and then we'll get to Nick.
I mean, so first of all, anti-Semitism is wrong, full stop, just like racism is wrong, full stop. And we went to Pittsburgh, and if you're going to go to Pittsburgh and talk about white supremacy and talk about hate, there's, of course, black and white racism to talk about. But Pittsburgh was also home of I think it's what is called the worst attack on Jewish people in this country's history. Nick seems to feel like he doesn't want to lose his street cred. And so I feel like I see him all the time doing things that's like, you're the host of The Masked Singer, but you want us to also know that you care about your people. But I feel like you can care about your people without leaning into some of those things like the anti-Semitism. I also know that Louis Farrakhan is a very divisive figure, and forget outside of the black community, but within the black community, because for many black people, the Nation of Islam was there when nobody else was there for us. So certainly Louis Farrakhan has said many anti-Semitic things and other things that are not cool, to put it lightly. But also for a lot of people in the black community, Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam were there to get their backs when they couldn't trust the police or local politicians. So it's just super complicated. But again, anti-Semitism is wrong, full stop.
I'm really worried about civil war. I really am. I have never seen this kind of violence where people are trigger happy. I feel like we are on the brink of something. And with this election coming up where, people are screaming fraud from the White House, there is voter suppression, which is clear. I'm just feeling we're on the brink.
Well, thank you for paying attention. I think that's what I would say about that, is that I don't know if it's civil war, but I do think we're potentially, if we could look up in 10 years and the rest of the world could be like, man, remember when we used to go to America? Remember when that was a place we used to send our smartest people from around the world to that place? In the same way that like Rome used to be an empire, now it's a city where you go and look at the stuff that used to be an empire. We're in danger, I feel like, of that. Like one day we're gonna look up and we will have lost that place, and the way we'll know it is because all the innovation, all the new technology, all the new systems that are created will not be happening here anymore, because the people who used to immigrate to this country or come to school in this country will all be staying in their own countries or going somewhere.
What did you say to Nick to change his mind on this?
Well, when I spoke to him. I said to him that what you said, first of all, is not true, and secondly, is extremely hurtful. And but in advance of my conversation with him, we sent him our report on Farrakhan that happened to be released 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And I said, the message was, read this before we speak. The first part of the conversation from him was an apology.
Oh, really?
He said two important things that were reflected later on in in his tweet. Number one, he apologized to the Jewish community, and number two, in some ways, maybe more important, is recognizing that was what he thought was fact, what he thought was historic fact, was just hateful propaganda and rhetoric. It's extremely harmful to another community. He stepped up now. He's made an important step. Whether or not, is it what the motivations are, I leave that to the good Lord to figure out.
Right. Are you going to meet with him again?
I'm going to make the ultimate sacrifice. I'm going to head over to Burbank.
You are?
Later today. Yeah, I don't usually go to the Valley except for bar mitzvahs.
And meet with him in person.
Or funerals. But his office is over there, and we're going to meet later today.
Just to discuss more of this sort of stuff?
Well, he requested it because,
wow.
Look, the conversation touched on a lot of issues, and some of them have to do. I think he's pursuing a degree in divinity, and he has a master's already. So, someone with a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Judaism teaches there's no such thing as a dumb question. The worst case scenario is the rabbi may have some egg on his face. wouldn't be the first time, but the best case scenario is you have here a young dynamic cultural influencer, who maybe will start delivering the right kinds of messages to the people who think he's important.